Hello, Sybille Biedert. Welcome. Well, I don't want to say back because there's no back, but welcome here at Radically Alive Women Edgecast, which I am thrilled to say you're part of the origin of the Edgecast, because it was with you that we started Radically Alive Women Immersion 3 years ago. And from that, the necessity for this Edgecast sprang in me. So thank you for being part of this journey.
Yeah, really glad to be here. Thank you.
You are a great many things. You're a woman, you're a mother, you're a movement like space holder and a feeling space holder. You're a creatress, and you are the main space holder for Embodied Freedom. Would you say something about who you are right now? What would you say?
Yeah. Who I am right now, I find myself in a big liquid state and a researcher in a researcher space. So especially after this weekend, like the researcher is really coming alive in me, with also having recently just done the feelings practitioner core lab and finding many pieces in that lab that like some of those things I have had discovered through embodiment and possibility management in the spaces. And then here they came up with a lot of kind of structure and maps. And it was like so many moments where I was just like, oh, wow. And I felt so much joy in how to also integrate more of the feelings practitioner clarity into the movement spaces, which is sort of what I'm waiting for the next March event, to like, okay, let's play. And I'm researching with some people who have also done the feelings practitioner lab and have come many times to Embodied Freedom. And I just been to a big conscious dance event here in the South Island, and I was so reminded again that the work that I have discovered or researched and created is just so unique. And there was even a moment where Five Rhythm is part of my background. Five Rhythm is a well-known, one of the first conscious dance developments that have come forward. The teacher of that developed that is called Gabriella Ross, and there was a colleague of her in this event, and I had a conversation with him, and he was sharing with me how he loved this clarity when Gabriella Roth was discovering movement as a medicine and as a healing modality. She at the same time discovered Gestalt therapy, which was not a movement modality, but she was working in both. And then through her, they came together and created the Five Rhythms, the workshops. And I was like, wow, that's just that. Yeah, it really was like, wow, that's what I do. and yeah, this weekend it was also being in so many different movement spaces and really missing the clarity of feelings. I got really curious. How do they hold space when they are not aware of their anger? And how do they move a space from a very different sort of internal, um, energetic body that's more unconscious in that way?
What have you noticed about facilitators not actually using feelings to navigate, to hold space, to create the container for people to move their bodies and embody themselves? What have you noticed about that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel scared to say anything that sort of compares or has sort of, what I notice is most of,
Oh, hold on.
yeah,
Maybe the question is a different one. It's like, what is the potential of your work? This is a different angle. It's like, what is the potential of adding the feelings distinctions to the movement and to
yes.
the music? What is it that excites you so much about it, that you're taking this stand, which is comparable to what the Five Rhythm originator did with the Gestalt therapy and the music movement?
Yeah. So the potential that opens with adding the feelings to the movement is that there is so much more space for connection and for the beings to come forward, so, and to actually have space. And what I noticed is that most of the movement spaces that were offered are creating a nourishing ground for that, and then the next piece isn't quite coming. So like as soon as feelings are coming, it's usually a managing space, how to manage them and how to sort of speak about them more in the trauma language. And then when they're actually welcomed, and I do bring the old map and new map, at least of anger, into the space to make the space safe. And for so many people, it's just a complete, people who've never heard of PM, it's a complete aha effect, especially because they are discovering bottom up. And when I say bottom up, it's because they're discovering it through the movement. So I very gently lead them into where at some stage their fire is burning and they're taking a stand for something, or they're speaking their yes and they're speaking their no, and they're moving it at the same time. And then, oh, actually this energy is here for a reason. So that distinction in itself creates so much more potential for collaboration, for their next step, for change, for then people to get really curious of what do I do with this energy, for healing. But most of all, it's like the space just comes alive. It creates a space where aliveness starts to really be here and curiosity starts to come forward. And I wrap it really as an experiment. I give people, I bring it in. This is an experiment for the next 3 hours. You just have 4 feelings. What you do at the end of it is totally up to you. But for now, to be a yes, if you're here, and to really go on a journey with that.
Will you say what the 4 feelings are?
Yeah, to explore and get curious about your anger, your fear, your sadness, and your joy, and to build a new relating to those 4 feelings. Yeah. And one of the most difficult times that I have each time is that so much wants to come in these, for example, 3 hours. I had 2 3-hour workshop windows. And then I sort of need to filter what really can come through, what the matrix is that people can really hold, so that something really lands and can walk outside and bring the next piece. That's been each time. It's like, I go through my own washing machine of like, wow, what is the essence that I can bring, that I can land? And yeah, and it happens, it unfolds, and it opens a new space for people, for something they did not know. But this was pretty much 90% people who've never done and heard anything about possibility management. And within the whole framework of this event, there was feeling gets talked about like as a general piece, but not harvested in any sort of way of what they're bringing and what in movement they can create. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen you active and I've been I've benefited from the experience of your spaces, and I can totally wholeheartedly say yes. You know, people, women especially, but people listening here, like, go and experience it. And yet my question goes more towards, having also journeyed beside you, can you say something about how feelings have changed your life and how your journey has been with that?
Yes.
And I guess it's also, you know, something about embodying and coming into your body and not having been in your body.
Yeah. Yes. I have learned for myself that if I want to feel, movement is my go-to. Like if I spend too much time not moving, the difference is quite big. My physical body gets really numb, and then I can't feel my full feelings moving in me. And I really noticed that moving for 4 or 5 days, all my feelings were so on the surface each time in conversations, and how feelings have changed in my relating to feelings have changed is that it is it's an ongoing shifting like research. Right now I am with having had my anger in the forefront for a really long time and clearing the way. It's shifting that more and more my sadness fills the space and my anger is more on the edges so that I can keep also feeling my sadness. That wasn't available for me even a year ago. So there's this ongoing evolution of how to really consciously be with my feelings when I'm holding space and like in events. And also I live with 4 young women at the moment, and it's a constant bubbly up and down, like also being with them and noticing the level of chaos that can come through feelings. Like we also have one man live with us, and I can really see how for him it is really a challenge to be with the intensity of woman's feelings. And I experience it more and more again in especially in menopause at the moment, where it's like more and more of acceptance that my feelings move at times again how they move in a child. Like one moment I can feel really angry, and then I'm being with the anger, and then I feel really scared and oh, what's going on? And I feel my sadness underneath that, and then my joy of like, okay, what's next? It's moving in a way of yeah, of unpredictable, and at the same time like I'm I'm in this place of wanting to, and this is a practice, this doesn't happen all the time, to really um, listen to what is coming and making space in my life to be with that, and to also sit with sadness sometimes for quite some time. Or I have a sign on my wall that my partner made a little while ago where it says, I want your anger. So in my house, for all of us, anger is like when I tiptoe around and say, "Hey, can you do this or that for me or whatever?" I get the feedback of like, "I want your anger. What are you actually saying? Say it now. What are you angry about?" And I'm like, "Okay, what am I angry about? Yeah, I want this." So it's a ongoing practice to, especially in an environment where it's welcome. I noticed a big difference if I can carry my culture around, and in some environments I find it really difficult, like last weekend, and then I sort of hold them really close and get a bit stuck. Or if I'm in an environment where everyone is like, we're feeling, we're alive, what are you scared about? What are you angry about? And have regular check-ins, then they are flowing and bringing information, and at the core just bringing a lot of aliveness and possibilities into the space.
I get this impression of, yeah, it's really about becoming human with all
Yeah,
that we're equipped. Yeah,
yeah,
embodying that there is a human consciousness here with a physical body, with an emotional body, with an energetic body. And
yeah.
so the possibilities that come with that, also with the intimacy and connection that you mentioned.
Yeah, and something I've discovered this weekend was that I now have so much more capacity to consciously feel. So in the past, I would go to some sort of ecstatic dance, whatever, and give my center to the group or to the space holder and go like, okay, so this is this space, right? And now I don't do that anymore. I go into the space and I hold my space. And when music, like I'm in relating to the music, and if it's bringing me alive, I bring my joy right in, and if it brings forward my anger, I bring my anger right in. And that is, I think it's confronting at times for the people around me. And yeah, I love that. I love the radiance that I can now create especially in movement spaces. And also then it becomes infectious when I really feel that I don't even have to speak. I can aliven a space with my own aliveness in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I know from own experience how music is medicine in a way that the sound, sometimes also the lyrics, but it's mainly the frequency of the sound, I think, that can open up something. And as you say, it can open up just from the sound, it can open up the heart to a certain feeling or emotion. And I'm guessing that on the dance floor, it might not even matter, is it an emotion, is it a feeling?
Yeah.
And the distinction being that a feeling is from right now, an emotion is unconscious or not from right now.
Yeah, and the soundscape that I offer in regards to the feeling is very specific. Like I'm very specific, and I'm starting to play around with this more and more. Like 2 weeks ago, I went to the local market, with two headphones, and for me to listen and a client to listen, and to make it a conscious fear practice, and to give people an emotional tune up, so that I would be with them while they're exploring their anger, fear, sadness, and joy. And if they got really courageous, then I would walk with them through the market, and me and the client are in one world and everyone else is in theirs. And it's about being having an experience to be able to create extraordinary spaces, just like that. It's like, okay, here are some headphones, come with me, and or open a door to yourself, I'll be with you, and we're in our space for this moment. And it was so much fun. It was totally non-linear. I had no idea how it's gonna go, and I made it for free. But it's like, there is something that also is with each group, it's totally different. So each group requires, or this is how I read it, how I follow my fear. My fear gives me information. What particular song for joy is needed, what words are needed for this space, for the sadness, what words are not words for the anger and the fear. So it's very specific, and each time, like, I get this question all the time: why don't you just do the same workshop twice? Why don't you just not prepare for hours and just go and do this one again? And I discovered this time, it's like, that would be my box doing it. This is a new group of people, a new space, and it requires and asks for its own space, and that space gets created each time totally new.
What comes alive in me is this noticing also that your experience with feelings empowers you or enables you to choose, especially lyrics that aren't navigating towards low drama, but that are empowering. Low drama meaning sort of the victimhood or the persecution or the rescuing, and so the not taking responsibility for what's actually happening. So the songs that you choose are created or are chosen for empowerment, for opening up the heart to the authentic feeling, rather than the low drama expression of that.
Yes, yes. And it used to be really hard to find that sort of music. And something has exploded, I think, in the field of musicians, because there is so much of powerful medicine musicians that I also, I have such a thread going now that, yeah, like I it's for me like one of my joys in the day to find, or Spotify offers me whatever in its realm. Wow, this is such a cool sound. Oh, it touches me so deeply, and then I go and buy it. And often I look up the artist, because it also gives some info. But it's definitely changed. There's so much more conscious calling in the being, instead of the, yeah, creating the unconscious heavy sadness, and the drama, and the sort of cringy, never-ending love missing pieces. So yeah.
Well, like because you mentioned anger earlier, and that was your go-to for a while, like until you had enough space to then with your anger actually make it safe for your sadness to be there. And can you say something about maybe about this? Because I've seen you also on the dance floor, really your anger force being the force that would blast, trail blast, sort of, or trailblaze the space for something else to come through. And not, even a year ago when we lived together for 6 weeks in this women's bridge house experiment, I could witness you struggle with actually owning your anger and owning your clarity. Can you say something about that journey, or
Yeah.
how you owned that?
Yeah. That's 1 year, and the capacity to really ask for what I want and to make proposals from that place, that journey sort of started a year ago, and it's continuing, and there's a lot more clarity and a lot more owning, and yeah, it's an ongoing process. And I noticed how to put this in words. There, what I noticed is that for me, for a long time, I was not able to be with other people's anger unless it was in a held space in a lab or in a, so if unconscious anger was happening in my surrounding, I would really freeze and not really able to do an action. And yeah, the decoding ability wasn't available to me. I'm not quite getting to the piece what I want to say. At the moment, I'm in a place where I am learning to guard my sadness. So it's like sometimes it flops into that I'm not holding enough space, and that I notice I lean on my partner to that he has his anger up so that I can be more in my sadness or in my flow. And so at the moment, I'm practicing how to have a low level of anger up so that I can ask for what I want and keep my space like open, and the sadness flowing and the fear and the joy. So there's been a shift where in a year ago my fear would be so high that I would speak with a lot of anger to handle the fear that sits right behind it. And I have a sense that that has really shifted, because I can also own my fear more, and I can speak into it and let it run, and yeah, let it be there.
I think that's a big, like an important hint, is this fear. Yeah, having to go over the fear forcefully with the anger, energy, and power.
Yeah.
Yeah, how big the key, I think, especially for women, is around fear, and how to get more intimate with the fear instead of having to make it go away and then pretend in a way, or protect unconsciously instead of safeguarding.
Yeah, and I also really noticed this pattern in my son, especially my younger son. I noticed that he often speaks with a lot of anger, and I think because I've discovered it myself, I've also noticed in other people sometimes really seeing sort of a little twitch in their eye, like seeing the high fear just behind the high anger. And that's really helping me to be able to stay, and then to offer some decoding and offer some completion loops. And I find that so empowering that I don't have to just leave the space and make them wrong or whatever, but like, yeah, I can stay longer, which means I can also stay with myself longer. And yeah, like in my relating with my son, I'm really curious how to meet him more and how to decode for him, which with teenagers is a real challenge. And something I've also just want to speak into it, what I have been discovering holding space mostly for adults my age and older, More and more in the last year, I've been holding space with young adults and also with more young adults in the space. And what I notice is the distinction and the capacity to feel moves so much quicker for them as people my age. They literally just take the new maps, they just run with it, and they feel, and they come back at me with what they're angry about, what they're scared about, and yeah, it's just, let's have a full feelings check-in, and they just turned on by it. They come alive with it. There's so little resistance and defensiveness. It's just like, oh, thank you for letting me know what I almost would have forgotten. So it's like, yeah, I really love seeing that unfolding, and it's almost a bit of a youth well to be around. It reminds me on the simplicity of like, what am I really defending here? It's like, okay, let's be messy, let's be chaotic. This is fun.
Yeah, I can literally feel the joy of life that's pulsating there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was listening to the two young women holding space for the school strikes for climate here in New Zealand. And they were saying, when they were asked, what do you want from us older people? Yeah. And they were saying, just listen to us, basically in my words, like, hold space for us. Don't put your stuff into our space. And I get how this links to what you're saying of,
Yes.
this,
Yeah.
they've got it. Like, they just need to
Yeah.
just need the space to run with it.
Yeah. And one of the big gifts, just touching that I have received in the last few months living with young adults, where I was sort of the space holder at the beginning, and they have come to my workshops and whatever, and then we started entering a living space. And one of the biggest feedbacks that they were brave enough to give me was that I give advice a lot. And and so we had this agreement that whenever I give advice, they would let me know. And then I started noticing in so many of the online spaces and possibility management spaces how often we give advice. And I was like, wow, and how I feel when advice was given. And that it was just like, ooh, I feel sort of, yeah, I could sense the squealing that was happening in me, and that I was creating anger in me of like, hey, it 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 makes the space smaller. And yeah, so I've been really grateful for just that sort of opening, and that I didn't even know what to say when I'm not giving advice. So for a while there was like, I don't really know, when I'm not my coach identity anymore, who am I yeah, so in the last few weeks I really learned how to hang out again, and how to just like not know what to say, and to not fill the space with distinctions and all the things that I know, and la 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 la, and like, okay, how does this go? I don't know.
And that sort of wraps it up, I think, also for the movement spaces that you create. There's a lot of not knowing and leaning into the fear and creating magic from that, which is the territory of fear. And the archetypally is magic. And
Yes, and so much play. So it's like, and as more as I am finding my play again, I can bring this more consciously, and there's so much healing in play, which is what I've been discovering. And in the movement spaces, the play really relaxes the box and the gremlin to a place that they're also part of the play. And and there isn't a a good or bad or right or wrong. It's like, okay, it's a discovery space, and it has that flavor of really healing from school, where mistakes would be making us tight and rigid, and the space just keeps relaxing and relaxing, where play comes back, and with the play the being starts to take up more space. And yeah, and the connection grows, because it's beyond verbal connection. It's really not from this normal linear connection. It's the play connection.
Thank you, Sybille. Do you have one song or to offer that women could dance to, or men, whoever's listening, to connect to? Yeah, choose one, but I would propose like to their anger as a starting ground.
I I don't know music by their titles. I have them in my playlist and I find them sort of energetically. So I will give you a couple of songs to to add on and then to play at the end of the podcast.
Edgecast.
Edgecast.
Okay, thank you, Sybille. Thank you for your
Thank you so
movement
much.
magic and for spreading the seeds of feelings work or feelings possibility in the wider village.
Embodied feeling. Thank you. Thank you, Julia, for having me.
Imagine that you could become so radically alive that you would create not only the life that you love, but also the culture that comes through you that your being is designed to create. This is what this Edgecast is about. This is what this Edgecast aims to inspire in you as you listen to this right now. And this could be a daunting thing. And daunting is not a problem. Daunting simply means it's new, it's scary, and why not do it anyway? This is where evolution lies. Evolution is there where the fear is. So we're inviting you to join us on this journey and make it your own. You can do this by, keep diving into these free episodes, the episodes that we're gifting from a place of abundance and necessity. And you can also become a member, benefiting from some special content that we upload in the membership area. But really, the membership portal is for you to take more responsibility so that we can keep creating this content. And if you were willing to step even closer into the circle, you could join our in-person live offerings online. There are many transformative workshops and trainings that are on offer from various radically alive women across the globe. And you can find all of our offerings on our website, radicallyalivewomen.com. This Edgecast is brought to you by Radically Alive Women, a team of women consisting currently of Julia Neumann, Millicent Hoey, Annika Korsten, and Hannah Abuzara. See you soon.